We are right down to the final few races here for the VTuber Racing 2024 season, but we are not done taking trips outside of the United States for our race events. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our, I believe, 4th or 5th time that we have taken a trip outside of the US for our race. And this will be officially our final time this season. So enjoy it while it lasts. We are now in Germany for the 22nd running of this season here at officially known as EuroSpeed. But there's also a handful of other names for this said track. Wikipedia says that there's at least 3 of them. So I decided to pick the one that is going to be branded throughout the entirety of this race, which is just EuroSpeed. Very similar to a track that we've already been to this season, and that is Pocono. This track that we're using, the configuration for this track, is 3 turns, all in a triangular shape. We will see a more in-depth look at it here momentarily when we bring it down to trackside. Like I said, this is the final time we are going to be outside the United States. This track is held in Germany. I don't remember the exact location, but Germany. That's where it's at. So, with that out of the way, let's paint a picture here now that we can actually do a pre-race, unlike last week at Charlotte. But let's quickly talk about Charlotte. Charlotte last week was interesting to say the least. As things have turned out from the last couple of weeks, things have been chaotic, again, to say the least. Last week, we saw the closest finish in the VTuber Racing series history, and that will probably stay like that forevermore, as Merriweather just inched out Lumen last week by literally a kick out on his Pontiac. Now, before then, I would never talk about the manufacturers of any of the drivers in this series because it doesn't matter. Or at least I didn't think it would until that race, where they literally the race was determined by a different manufactured car. So that might end up being probably one of the closest finishes, and I don't think they'll ever be topped because I'm pretty certain we will never have an opportunity for that to happen again. So enjoy that moment while it can, because I don't think that same thing's going to happen today. I would like to be amazed, but even if it's a close finish, it'll probably at least be determined a whole lot easier than in last week's race. But Merriweather won the race after starting on the pole and leading 35 laps, including the last lap. Lumen finished second after starting 36th. And that still shows us that even after 21 races, it does not matter where you start, it matters where you finish. Now, points-wise, we'll get into the actual point situation here momentarily, but I will talk about the top 2 of the points and how they did last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Both of them ended up finishing not super well compared to where they optimally should, for them being top 2 of the points. Arias finished 13th after being in the back pretty much all race long, but still somehow managed to find their way up to the 13th spot for the finishing spot, which is a whole lot better than where Bell ended up finishing at, which was 25th after nearly getting that win and nearly being in contention for the win, I should say. That's where things get a little hairy. They were in contention and then they were not. That's how this whole series goes. So, outside of those 2, a lot more drivers inside the top 10 of the points did a whole lot better than the top 2 of the points. We'll talk about that here momentarily. going back to the racetracks that we will be running here, I do not have the updated next 4 races, but I still have the next 2 up on the screen. It is still currently slated to be Chicagoland next Sunday night, or Sunday morning, I should say, not Sunday night. It is going to be ran under the lights at Chicagoland, that's why I said that. But next Sunday morning, basically around the same time, we will see Chicagoland on the schedule, and that'll be our 23rd race of the season. So we'll be down to 8 races, less than 8 races after today. Then after that, we will head to Watkins Glen for another edition of road course racing here on the VTuber racing series, I should say. And won't be the last time we will see road course racing. In fact, you'll have to wait a few more weeks before we go to Sonoma in order for our road course slate of scheduling will be completed. So with that out of the way, let's quickly wrap things up from last week and the future by talking about some other things that happened last week before I mention anything about today. So last week's race saw 5 cautions, all of them roughly around the same time as each other. The first 150, 160 laps went caution free. Then there was a handful of cautions that came out later in that race, which caused a bunch of people to go back and forth from the entirety of that first half of the race. We'll see what happens here today. And in total, there was 65 lead changes out of a 300 lap event. So it was still a lot of lead changes, but not as many as we've been seeing, I would say, like before coming back into the live streams of things. But yeah, that's how Charlotte ended up at. Let's take a look at the points coming into today's race before we get way too far ahead of ourselves. So, like I said, the top 2 in points, it is still a full race, a race lead for the points championship title at the moment, with Area still holding 57 points over Melanie Bell. Or Melanie Bell, I keep mixing up the name, but it's Melanie Bell. Malcolm, it's Melanie now. Third place, William at the moment sits 71 points back, and not too far behind them is DJ Overdrive, who both of those two gained at least a spot, and in William's case, 3 spots from Charlotte last week. David's still in the top 5, however, he's got a lot of contenders right behind him ready to take him out of that top 5 spot. Interestingly here, what you see on the screen, you'll also see that somebody has 10 top 10s in this season, and that is Noriboshi, who sits 7th in the points. They're 85 points back. 3 drivers inside the top 5, 3 of them all in the top 3. They can all muster up a 10th top 10 finish here today if they get a top 10 finish here today. Driver with the most amount of top 5s inside the top 10 in points, that's our our points leader of Starlight, who sits with 6 top 5 finishes. Several other drivers could easily muster up a 6 top 5 finish here today, if of course they finish inside the top 5 here today. Everybody inside the top 10 has at least 1 win of the season except for 2 people, that being DJ and Soleil. So 2 drivers could have a shot here today to win and get some points added into the thick of things here. Get them 3 bonus points, actually 4 bonus points for the most part. Excuse me. F1 style grid for today, so we go from the back to the front. I'm not going to read off all the names necessarily, but I'll let it slowly creep its way through the top here. So, let's take a look and see if anybody big starts at the very back of the field here. And right off the bat, we see Soleil starting at the 27th spot, one driver that still is looking for their first win of the season. Sitting 27th at the moment. They are the worst driver inside the top 10 in terms of starting spots. Top 10 in points, I should say. Henya starting 24th, another bad starting spot for them. Bell will start 22nd here today. Second place on the points. He'll have to come from deep in the field in order to muscle any sort of points here. And especially so because we're still not seeing our points leader up on the starting lineup here. Kelso starts in 19th, another driver inside the top 10 in points. David, who is 5th in the points, and they'll start in the 17th spot. So right off the bat, Bell is not looking too good at the moment in terms of their starting spot as they start 22nd, and a ton of the drivers that are inside the top 10 in points, they'll sit several spots above them. 13th starting spot goes to Nori Boshi, the driver that we talked about a moment ago that has 10 top 10s this season, just outside the top 10 starting spot for them, as well as William, who starts in 11th. Now keep an eye on the lap times here because these times, they are roughly close together. 47 4s, and now we're entering the 47 3s as we enter inside the top 10, with Tyroki starting in 10th, Lumi starting in 9th, Overdrive starting in 8th, Kobo starting in 7th, the Bow starting in the 6th place spot. Now we're entering the 47.2s. Not a lot of drivers with a 47 3s, but a lot more with 47 2s. Bow starting at 6th, Fruit starting at 5th, points leader Starlight starts in the 2nd row in the 4th place spot. Iron Mouse in 3rd. Merriweather starts 2nd after finishing and starting 1st last week. This week he starts 2nd, and D rounds out the field on the pole for today. I believe that might be his second pole of the season. I think it's got to be close. Yeah, that is his second pull of the season. So I think, if I remember correctly, he also had it at Darlington, if I remember correctly. I want to say so. I want to say it's Darlington that that Didi ended up getting that pull. I want to say. I'm trying to remember, and I think that's right. But in any case, let's go ahead and send it down to trackside here where we are set to go racing here at the EuroSpeedway. Gotta make sure that we got audio before we turn off the music. Sounds like it. Yes, we do. We'll have to turn it down and turn this off. So let's take a look at our track for the day. So coming down the front stretch, this is turn number 1, fairly baked up, as we see here. Like I said, this track is really similar to our race at Pocono, but the back straightaway, you want to call it, Alpha Turn 1, not as long as we'll see here. But as they pace with the speeds at 65 miles an hour, the speeds will be huge today. Look at how wide this turn is. You will see 3 and 4 wide action. And that's coming off of turn 2, and then an even shorter distance between turn 2 till you get to turn 3, which is even more baked into turn 3 than it is in turn 1. And again, as wide as it is, you're going to see a lot of side-by-side, if not 3 wide action. And they come down the front stretch here. It's going to be Merriweather and Didi as the pace car rolls off into the pits. 175 laps around EuroSpeedway. It's underway. Side by side for the lead going into turn 1. 3 wide behind. And it looks like the inside line is going to be the line to prevail here early. A lot of slipping and sliding early on this run. And I think that's going to give the advantage to Merriweather down the back straightaway. Merriweather's going to have the high side. D's going to be shoved in the middle. Here comes Iron Mouse to the very bottom of the racetrack. Entering turn number 3. Actually, turn 2. Off of turn 2. Now coming into turn 3. Merriweather's going to clear from the very top line here. And he's going to be able to clear off of 4 or 3 and lead the first lap here today. Picking up right where we left off. Starlight just not too far behind them in 3rd place. Off of turn 1, down the backstretch. It's like a single file inside the top 3. That is not a good camera angle. Actually, I'm just curious. Yeah, that is not a camera angle we will use at all today. All right. Good to know that. Single file inside the top 5. Most of them inside the top 5. Bow's up to 4th. Saw her up. Starting in the 6th spot. Iron Mouse falls back to 5th. First side-by-side action that we got between Fruit and Lumi. That's for 6th. A lot of side-by-side right at the moment. A little bit of 3-wide action going on behind. Hobo DJ and Gura. But that is the first bit of any sort of side-by-side action inside the top 10. Everybody else is single file. 47.352 was the last lap around for the leader at the very least. See what happens this time around. Is it another fast lap? It is. 47.2 this time, which is what we saw in qualifying. So at least they're still pretty consistent compared to qualifying speeds. Off of turn 1, down the backstretch. Single file through pretty much the entirety of the field. A little bit of 3-wide deep in the pack. And everybody else is pretty much single file. Woo, that was tight. I think there was some contact there between Watson and Fifi. They will stay 3-wide, maybe 4-wide. Henya looking to go 4-wide in a turn 1. Very tight battling going on back there. Not much up front. Top 3 stay the same. Bao and Iron Mouse and Fruit, they're battling each other right now. Iron Mouse is going to try to take the 4th spot away from the high side. Might even try to take the 3rd spot. They're 3-wide. That spot. Battle on the very bottom. Battle for the lead. The pole sitter coming back to the inside. Looking for that race lead. Still side by side off of turn 1. It's going to be who gets the run down on the exit. They still stay side by side. Watch for Iron Mouse, who's now up to 3rd. She's going to peek back. Down low again. But still Merriweather, who hangs on from that high side. And now it's going to be Iron Mouse who's going to try to take away the 2nd spot. Off of turn number 3, down into the start-finish line. Iron Mouse is going to clock in at 2nd in the timing line. And it was single file through a little bit of this early going here, but now things are starting to pick right back up. Side by side for the lead, 3-wide behind and side by side behind it. Iron Mouse on the bottom. Looking to make something happen before getting into turn number 3. And Iron Mouse clear off a 3 here down the front stretch. And not this time. Not cleared, but will lead the lap. He's going to clear going into 1 this time. And now Iron Mouse with a solid lead at the moment, as they're going to be 3 wide for that second spot. Maybe 4 wide if Gura has anything to say about it. Look at this jumbled mess back here. This is all... Actually, instead of back here, it's up here. This is for second. Right now, it's Merriweather who hangs on a second. Actually clears away from everybody at the moment. All the single file that went on in the front of the field has moved on to the back of the field. And all the craziness that was a 3 and 4 wide action from the back of the field has moved on up to the front of the field. This is a 175 lap race, so we'll have to see how this shakes up late in the going. The top 4 have single filed out. Still a lot of battling going on behind it, though. And Starlight is falling way back now. After starting inside the top 10, inside the top 5, actually. They have fallen back to 15th. Whether it's because of this being the less chaotic place, considering, I mean, they're still battling side by side, but a lot of that double file that we were seeing 3 and 3 wide even, that's kind of leveled out. And now we're back to slight double file action, but a little bit more of single file action. 10 laps through this race. Iron Mouse comes to the line and leads lap 10 by about 0.2 of a second, a little more than that, almost 0.3 actually. Last time by, it was less than 0.2 of a second. Now that's, I want to say double. That sounds bad, but it's only about like 1/10. Iron Mouse is starting to pull away a little bit. There's a 3 wide battle for the second spot. Bao, Noriboshi, and now Gura looking to take advantage here. It is hard to tell which line is the preferred line. Merriweather has made the I want to say the high line, but it's kind of more so the middle line. It has worked, but at the same time, Bao moves up to second from the bottom. So it looks like that bottom line is starting to come in. Fruit just got shoved all the way to the top line. 3 wide, and that didn't work out for her, so it doesn't look like the high line's the place to be anymore, as Merriweather's going to try and take away the second spot again. Going to try and see if the bottom actually works for them. Doesn't work in turn 2. Yeah, it does not work in turn 2. And they will stay single file inside the top 3. Merriweather's going to try the inside in turn 1. He might get a run down this backstretch here. Noriboshi giving a little bit of help to Bao there. Merriweather's going to try and shove Bao up to the high side here. Get a good run into turn 2. And he's able to clear, so he will take second away. But does Bao get a run? No, Merriweather blocks the run. So Merriweather blocks and hangs on to second, going into turn 3. All this about maybe 0.3 behind Iron Mouse. They're 3 wide for third. Noriboshi, Bao, and Gura trying to take one position. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there by Fruit. And turn 1 looks to be, with all that banking, you transition from banking to no banking down the backstretch, and you may have some wheel spin there. Wheel spin at 140, 150 miles an hour. That's not very fun, to say the least. I've seen a lot of drivers get a little swirly there on the exit. And Merriweather has closed the gap down to less than 1/10 of a second. Pretty much nose to tail going into turn 1. And the field is starting to separate a little bit. Got a pack of 3 now forming up. It's Iron Mouse, Merriweather, and Gura. They battle for the lead. There's a little bit of a pack here with about 9 cars total, from first all the way to the 9th spot. And then 10th place Ahenya's got a little bit of a gap compared to everybody else. And this is where you see a lot more of the chaoticness. And this is where we see our points leader just kind of hanging back alongside a few other drivers. Now we're only 16 laps in, so don't need to really stay, I guess, chaotic. I don't need to really be aggressive is the main thing. There's still a long ways to go in this race. We saw it last week. An area was really in the back of the pack all race long until the end of the race, where they climbed up to the 13th spot. And granted, I think part of that was because when they got involved in the accident that they were involved in, they went in, got fresh tires, and ran down the rest of the field. But also at the same time, too, with the less than 10 races to go, the restarts, instead of single file restarts, we have double file, actual double file restarts, similar to how we start these races. So that closes up the field a lot, and because of that, that gives a lot of drivers an opportunity to gain and lose, and also lose positions too. Top 3 stay single file. They were 3 wide for the 4th spot for a second, but it's Fruit who hangs on to that spot. And then Noriboshi tried to hang on to that 5th spot. Down low underneath Bow. Alright, now top 3 are separated by less than 3/10 of a second. Henya way up the racetrack in turn 1 there. But still keeps it clean. Don't know if they got the wall or not. Didn't hear anything. Alright, now currently watching the battle for second. As Iron Mouse actually starts to skirt away a little bit. Actually pulls away to a pretty sizable gap at the moment. So right now we're watching the battle for 3rd place now between Iron Mouse and Fruit. As the gap between the leaders has almost gone up to a complete second. So Iron Mouse with a lap of the century there for herself as she gaps Gura by almost a full second. We're right on board with Noriboshi here for this this next lap here to see how it feels to drive this track. About 170 miles an hour before they start letting out. And they're still letting out by the time they're in the middle of the corner. And they're down all the way down to like 120, 125. Turn 2 is a little better, not by much though. 135 that time. Turn 3 has. 125. So what we're looking at here is these drivers are clocking in about 170 miles an hour right to the point where they start letting off the gas, and then they go all the way down to 125 in the corners. Then they start accelerating once more till they hit that 170. So you got around 175 as your max speed on this track. And you drop it all the way down to 135 in turn 2 and 125 in turns 1 and 3. Very much Pocono style track here. Ooh, boy. Merriweather thought about trying to get that second spot. Almost got into the corner panel of Gura. Actually got a good run, even though they slipped up in 3. Actually gonna try and make the move happen in turn 1. So we're about 20 minutes into this race. And 22 laps in the books. 4 wide for the second spot. Bow, Fruit, Merriweather, and Gura almost 5 wide, actually. As Nori Boshi, actually, no, Bow slipped up a little bit, and that allowed Nori Boshi, probably not intentionally, to slip underneath. All this while the leaders gapped again. Everybody's second. Merriweather hangs on to second spot, though. All this is doing is shuffling everybody around. However, for some reason, this track is running this game a little bit more than I thought it was going to. A little bit of stuttering problems, but all good. Merriweather hanging on to second. That battle for third still tight. Gura tried to throw that block to clear, but that did not work, and they're going to still stay side by side with Fruit to their inside. Just keeping an eye on what we got going on battle-wise. Keep in mind that the only 2 drivers, maybe 3 drivers if you count Didi, the only 3 drivers that have led a lap this race are Didi, Merriweather, and Iron Mouse. And Didi's just outside the top 10, but still hanging on to this front pack here, so they are still in contention here early on. Whoa, Bow way up the racetrack in 3 there. I don't know if there was contact there, but they were definitely, it definitely looked like they had a major slip up in 3 there. Oh, Bow now way up the racetrack. She hangs on to it. Does not hit the wall whatsoever. Quick points update. Bell sits 18th and Starlight sits actually way off the pace back at 37th. Don't know if that's I don't know if that's another mechanical problem for the 24 or if that's just a strategy call, because at Homestead they had a mechanical problem that took them out of the race not even 50 laps into the race. But then again, they do have a full race lead over everybody else in the points, so they may just be trying to just get through these races and just try to muster up a nice, calm final run to the championship. Oh man, I think the battle for the lead's getting pretty tight here. Merriweather right up to the back bumper of Iron Mouse here. 26 laps will be done when we get across the line. I do want to say the lap times have dropped down tremendously But I feel like I may also be a little bit wrong on that. It's still close to a second for some drivers, if not more, compared to where we started, which for 30 laps, almost 30 laps, that's quite a fall off. And they see a side-by-side battle for the lead going into turn 2 here. And Merriweather still can't get that bottom rolling for him on the, in turn 2, I should say. As Gura's now going to hang on to that outside line going into 3. And will she get the run off of 3? She does, and takes the second spot away. There's a big block there in turn, almost turn 1 by Noriboshi on Lucky. That's a huge block. Kenya's also in this picture as well. There's a couple drivers in this picture. They've kind of split apart from a few drivers behind them. Got 7 drivers in this battle right now, and then it's a little bit of a gap till you get behind them. We'll see if that stays the same in about 15 laps or so. Single file inside the top 7. I say pretty even down the backstretch, but here comes Gura once again to the bottom. There goes Merriweather to the very bottom. Ooh, Merriweather's not going to actually commit to that move. Actually, because of that move, he slides up and loses a little bit more of time. And Iron Mouse hangs on to that high side on that battle for the lead with Gura. Actually hangs on to it off of 3. Actually gets the slightly better run down the front stretch. Listen to that off-throttle time, my goodness. This track looks like you can hang on to the throttle for a whole lot longer than they can. Gura once again trying that bottom line for the race lead. This time Merriweather's going to try and make it 3 wide into 3 here. Oh, but Iron Mouse had a better run down that last part of the straightaway there in turn 2, entering turn 3. So Iron Mouse still hangs on to the race lead. Merriweather still to the inside of Gura for second. A little bit of help from Lucky on the bottom. And Gura may have some help with Noriboshi on that high side. They're going to be tight side by side down this backstretch. Lucky stays in line with the 60 here, going into 2. Still about a second of a gap between these top 7 to the cars behind. And they will finally give up that inside the line. So Gura hangs on to second. 31 in the books. Still got a long ways to go, though. Single file, top 4, top 5, top 7, single file. But while they are still single file, they are still tight together. Practically nose to tail. Merriweather now going to try and make a move to the inside into 3. I'd see some drivers entering the pits here. Yeah, Kobo's entering the pits. Ooh, Didi way up the racetrack in 3. Hangs on. Fillion also in the pits. David and DJ, and Simu and Sprite, a couple drivers, including the pole sitter. They're going to be the early. They're going to be the early ones coming into the pits here. the short stops, the short pitting stops, I should say, they're going to be the ones to watch here. A couple more drivers committing to the pits here, especially the ones inside the top 7. The only two that are staying out, Noriboshi and Gura. They're going to stay side by side. Gura, I believe, is going to lead that lap. PM, Tyroki, there's Didi. Melody. They're the only drivers that stayed out. Everybody else is coming into the pits. That is like a bunch of them that came into the pits this time. Yeah, only what, like 8 drivers stayed out? 9 drivers at most stayed out. Everybody else is in the pits. Let's keep an eye on this here. Iron Mouse going to come out first out of this pack. Merriweather's going to be tied. Ooh, just barely going to beat out Lucky there. As the rest of the pack with the... Yep, as the rest of the pack comes on in. There's David, Simu, Sprite, the drivers that came in first. Here comes Gura, Noriboshi. Let's see where everybody comes out at. Iron Mouse, Merriweather, and Gura, Noriboshi. They were several drivers inside that 7-pack that was the main pack for the most part. So let's see where everybody comes out at. Iron Mouse did come out ahead of Merriweather when they came out of the pits. Let's see if they still stay ahead. Yeah, it looks like Iron Mouse actually has a huge gap. And the gaps increase hugely here. Noriboshi still with the lead. She actually beat out Gura. A much better stop for Noriboshi compared to Gura, but a not so good exit. The field spreads out a lot here in this cycle. Fillion's actually going to crack inside the top 10 because of that early stop. Oh, they got a wreck behind! Big wreck in the backstretch here. Bal's going to be thrown to her side. Caution is out on lap 35 here. It looks like on the exit of the pit lane, too. Oh, my. That Melody. See what happens here. He's trying to get out on the pits. He's slow, trying to find a lane up. Tries to come up right into Melody, and that just sends them both into the wall. Collecting Bow in the process. As well as... Oh, big shot by Kason in the wall, too. Ooh, Bell gets sandwiched. Not major damage by Bell, but a lot of damage to Kason. And Bow, who gets sent up on her side. Not enough to flip her, but just enough to get up on their side. I think William doesn't have as much damage. But Kason and Bow, those two have significant damage. Not a whole lot of damage to Bell from what I'm seeing. But just as soon as Iron Mouse cracked out to a 2.5-second lead over second place, our first yellow flag of the day has commenced. And since this just happened with right after pit stops, I think the only people that are going to be coming in are going to be the ones that have significant enough damage. Yeah, tough break for the pole sitter today. Just not a good stop to begin with, and then to top it all off, they got sent hard into the outside wall. In any other situation, that might benefit them because they would get the damage repaired and might maybe have a faster car than several drivers, but no, with everybody just getting done with pit stops, I mean like not even 2 laps for most of these drivers, yeah, it's not going to be much of an advantage, if anything. That is our first caution of today. Compared to the last few races, it's a pretty early caution. Yeah, several of those drivers that were involved in that wreck, they're down in the pits. I think 5 people? Yeah, 5 people. Pole sitter, Bow, Melody, Fifi, and it looks like Kason in the very back. Yeah, Kason. They're all in, getting as much of the damage repaired as they can. I think in the case of Melody and Fifi, they may be fine. I know that they got bent up damage there. And for the most part, a lot of that damage isn't so bad. Doesn't look super bad. These pace laps, they're going to feel like forever. You bring it down from a 47-second race pace to almost a minute, over, I should say. Not almost, over a minute 30. So when we go back racing here, it will be double file restarts, like I said before. So it's going to get way chaotic on this restart. But we'll have Iron Mouse on the inside to start. And then Merryweather, once again, will start on the high side in second place. Third place will be Lucky. Fourth place will be Kobo. Noriboshi in fifth place. Gura in sixth. Fillion cracks inside seventh place right now. That solid stop to begin the pit stops. Henya in eighth. DM in ninth. And rounding out the top 10 will be Fruit. Tairoki in 11th, Hanomizuki in 12th, Nana in 13th, Lumi in 14th, Dreamer, who just scraped by that wreck with minimal damage, in 15th. Bell stays out despite being sandwiched in 16th. 17th is Watson, Weebu in 18th, Callie in 19th, and David rounds out the top 20. Simu in 11th, Simu in 21st, Sprite 22nd, Overdrive 23rd, Area 24th, Lumen 25th, Dogi Bird 26th, William 27th, Kyoso 28th, Bibble in 29th, and Soleil in 30th, and the rest of the field on back. Like I said, they will double file up here to restart, so we'll have to see what the chaos will bring here with double file restarts. Pace car rolls into the pits. We'll get a restart here with 38 laps completed out of 175. Iron Mouse and Merryweather the front row for this restart. Pace car is in. And a green flag back in the air. The jump by Iron Mouse will easily clear Merryweather going into turn 1. Actually get a pretty decent gap here inside the top 2. A little bit of single file going on back. Third spot, fourth spot, fifth spot, where you're gonna find the first side-by-side action. That's between Gura and Lucky. Aphelion and Noriboshi battling for 6. Whoa, Lucky little loose getting into 3 there. Everybody's moving around trying to position themselves in a much better spot this time than the last time. Now Kobo's inside the top 3. Hanging on just behind Merryweather. Just trying Trying to keep an eye on the battles that are tightly around this racetrack. Making sure everybody is getting through just fine here. People way up the racetrack off of 2, nearly getting into the wall there. Despite not having a whole lot of grip, there's still enough grip for these drivers to not get into the wall. But yeah, there's a lot more to be reckoned with at this track than Pocono, but it's still dangerous to go up to that high side. 4 wide. Like I said, it can work here. The turns are wide enough and the straightaways are long enough, and as well as wide enough, they can make it work. It's just that we've seen a lot of cars getting a little slippy slidey into and out of these corners, so while it's wide enough to fit 4 wide, you gotta be careful with the cars and the positioning, because that will spell disaster if you slip up too much. Trouble getting sent up the racetrack by Gura. That's for 3rd. Wouldn't say a bump and run, but it pretty much is. He gets sent up a racetrack like that. They still battle close together here for the 5th and 6th spot. 3 wide with Noriboshi filling in a DM right behind for 7th. And Noriboshi hangs on to that spot. Iron Mouse hangs on to the race lead. Brings with her both Merriweather and Gura. Nose to tail. Merriweather slightly faster through turns 1. And down the straightaway to get into the inside here. Cannot make the pass work. Gura's going to move to 2nd. And to the inside for the lead. Iron Mouse has been incredibly strong here in the early going of this race. And I mean incredibly strong. Literally, as soon as she took the race lead away from Merriweather early in the going, she has not given it up that easily. A driver that has won 2 times already this season. Still, no drivers have won 3 races in this season, so a lot of parity at the moment. Several drivers with 2 race wins, but none with 3. Gura's looking to change, or not Gura, Iron Mouse looking to change that. And put 3 on the board for her. A lot of single file right behind, especially tight together too. Gura looking to the inside. Going into turn 1. And a little bit of a slip up there by Iron Mouse. That's going to give Gura the race lead. Gura still has to block where Iron Mouse is. She's going to get that run going into turns 2. Does the block. Is able to hang on. Will Iron Mouse be able to cross her over down into turn 3. They're 3 wide right behind these two. But Gura solidifies the spot for the lead going into 3. And off of that said turn, going to lead her first lap of the race. Actually, not her first lap of the race, but her first lap with everybody not being in the pits. Since that would be, I believe, her second lap led of the race. She barely inched out Noriboshi for the race lead when everybody was in the pits. Now Gura now starting to pull away slightly. Clean Air becoming a huge favorite here for the race leader. That battle for second still kind of there. And Iron Mouse trying to Get a good run going into 3 here. Trying to take a opportunity into 1 this time by. Gonna get a pretty halfway decent run. Peeks to the inside. And not able to make a move happen. A little bit of a spread here inside the top 5. Gura with a little bit of a gap to Iron Mouse. And then a little bit tiny of a gap, but still a gap nonetheless to Merryweather. Then it's Nori Boshi back there in 4th, just a little bit behind the top 3. Then Kobo, Lucky, and DM not too far behind. As they still run 3 wide just outside the top 15 here. And that falls all the way back to Fifi in 37th at the moment as side by side for the lead going into 1. Will it be Gura who hangs on down the back stretch, or will it be Iron Mouse? Iron Mouse with a solid exit, but Gura with a better exit. And Gura hangs on that high side. Iron Mouse once again looking to the inside, this time in turn 3. Good morning, Mama. Hope you're doing well. Iron Mouse with a little slip up there on the exit. Got a little too far down the inside, but still hangs on down the front stretch. Top 3 at the moment, class of the field, all 50 laps so far in this race. Now Iron Mouse clears off 1. Hangs on to the race lead going into 2. Have to see if Gura can make a move going into 3 here. Top 2 have kind of separated themselves from 3rd and 4th. They've got a couple tenths of a second more this time by. As Iron Mouse leads this lap. And now Gura back to the inside into 1. And we'll actually clear. The top 2 trade the lead back and forth here in the later portions of this first half of the run. Of the race, I should say. Now, we've seen the drivers come into the pits around lap 30 to 35, so a lot shorter of a fuel run here for these drivers. Looking at around 30 to 35 laps per run, so 60 to... I'd say around 65 is when you'll see, if not everybody, mostly everybody in the pits. Because of that little caution cycle that we had. For about 3, I think it was like 2, I think officially 2 laps. 2 or 3 laps. There's Iron Mouse with a good run down the backstretch. Big run down the backstretch. Clears Gura before even getting into turn 2. Iron Mouse had a little bit of a slip up there into 1, it looked like, but then down the backstretch completely turned it around. And 3rd place still kind of up for grabs. Between Noriboshi and Merryweather, they ain't letting away just quite yet. Or they ain't letting up from a good spot. And Iron Mouse with a solid lap there. Not only passes Gura again, but pulls out to a 4.5 tenths of a second. And we'll see if Gura can make up that gap here. It actually looks like she's got a good run off 1. And now here she comes down the back straightaway. And just like the last lap, except roles reversed. Let's see if Iron Mouse is going to take away the race lead, though. Gura took it, but will Iron Mouse still lead the lap to officially? No, she will not. All right, I was going to say officially hang on to the lead, but nope, Gura's going to make it another lead change of the race. Officially. Through 1. Still single file. And these two have pulled away by more than two seconds over Noriboshi, who's now hangs on to third. Although they still stay side by side with Merriweather down into turn 2. For the lead, we have another battle for... This time Gura hangs on that high side, but not by... just enough, actually. Just enough. Right now, it is Gura and Iron Mouse, the class of the field here after lap 50. All the way to almost 3 seconds to from third place. All this while they're still pretty much battling as hard as ever. But in turn 2, Iron Mouse once again looking for the run. And she's not going to be able to do so. Not that easily, at least. Still enough to maybe... Ooh, chop the nose off. Wow. That was really close. Gura wanting to hang on to this lead. As she led the most... I believe it was Gura that also held on to the most laps led Ponus last week at Charlotte. I want to say so. I know William led the most laps as well, but there was another person that tied with them. And once again, Iron Mouse going to be side by side on the inside with Gura going into turn 2. Will third time be the charm? Maybe not. Looked a little bit better of a chance there that time. No luck there. Not even enough to make a move to the inside in 3. Drivers in third on back. They are running mostly single file. Right to these two who are running their wheels off this of these cars here. They bring the gap down to less than 2 seconds. Still close, but not as much now as it was a lap or two ago. Ironmouse going to once again try the inside. And once again look to the inside in turn 2. To no avail there. Probably same situation going into 3. Yep. We're just going to chop the nose off Iron Mouse there. Try to take away some of that momentum. Although it's not going to be enough of the momentum because now Iron Mouse is going to try into 1 here to try to take the lead away. Iron Mouse has not given up this spot here. And I don't blame Iron Mouse whatsoever. She's inside the top 10 in points, and she desperately wants to cling on to a championship run here. Whereas Gura doesn't have much of anything to gain from this race other than maybe a late season race win, but that won't help her in the championship at all. What will help, though, is something that we will talk about here at the end of this race, because we are coming up on something that I've been talking about lately. But we are going to see it happen here starting, well, we won't see it, but it will happen next week, the next 2 weeks. But I'll talk about that at the end of this race. It's not super, I mean, it is pretty important, to be honest. It is pretty huge, so there's that. But yeah, totally understandable why Iron Mouse would be really wanting to try and not only lead the most amount of laps, but completely dominate this race. But Gura is just strong today. Gura just completely took the race lead back in turns 2, where that's where Iron Mouse has been struggling the last several laps. All this, though, is just bringing that pack behind in third place down to less than 1.5 seconds, or a little bit more than 1.5 seconds technically, but it's gonna get lesser and lesser as this run goes on if these two keep trading the lead. But yeah, Iron Mouse couldn't get clear of Gura into 2 on the inside. Although this time, Iron Mouse has a much better run. She'll actually clear... Jesus, what a block. What a block by Iron Mouse there. Almost not clear, to say the least. And these two have been racing super hard with each other for the last 15 laps. Once again, Gura involved in one of the better races for the lead this season. And they ain't giving up on each other just quite yet. Gura back to the inside in turn 2. Gura is much stronger than Iron Mouse in turn 2, but not this time. They'll stay side by side. But if it's side by side into 3, it might be a better run for... It might be a better run for Gura on this inside. Maybe not. Iron Mouse hangs on. Yeah, Iron Mouse hangs on to from the high side there. But Merriweather and Noriboshi and the pack behind, they're right up here. They're back up here. And pit stop should be coming up here within the next, I would say, 5 laps. Maybe less. Short pitting is definitely the way to go. You want to be one of the first ones to come in. That's how Fillion ended up getting inside the top 10. They were stuck outside the top 15 until they pitted very early in the run. See if anybody comes in. Nobody this time. Look at the packs here. We got several spread out packs here. Like several different spread out packs. Gura not wanting to go to the inside here to make a move. I think they know that's 3rd and 4th have caught up. 3rd and 4th have caught up, but because they're battling behind 4th place, they've kind of... The top 4 are now together, but 5th on back have split apart. Now Gura's going to take a move to the inside. Ooh, that was a close one there. Gura by 0.02 of a second leads that lap. Yeah, 3 out of the top 4 at the moment. They're all trying to mount a championship comeback of some sorts here. And the only one that is not is the one that's been trying their best to spoil it, currently in 2nd. They've been actually, and I say that as if it's like they're trying. They kind of are. Gura has been really hanging on to this front of the pack here. Iron Mouse, Gura, and Merriweather, like the 3 drivers dominant in this early going of this race. Now, it might change as we get to the later portions of this race, obviously. But as of this moment, the one that I can clearly say is pretty dominant so far is Iron Mouse. She's been really strong, despite Gura's best efforts to thwart the plans of the 22 for being dominant today. Still no drivers inside the top 10 pitting. They stay side by side down the front stretch here. Merriweather going to try and take it through the middle 3 wide here. I don't think Iron Mouse expected that. I don't think Gura did either. Merriweather 3 wide through the middle. That's going to push Iron Mouse back to 4th, maybe 5th. At worst, 6th. These drivers know that they got to pit here momentarily, so a lot of them trying to desperately get some track position. There comes Kobo and Mizuki and Fruit. among many others, probably. Several drivers in last time by, this time by several more. Several drivers that were in the back half of the field, they've came in the last time. This time, we got a lot more coming in. See what the top three does here. It's like some of them, if not a lot of them, are pitting this time. That's just Gura at the moment. Noriboshi again staying out an extra lap compared to everybody else. As these pit stops happen, things get really chaotic when trying to follow through with everything. As far as it seems like there's only a handful that have not pitted. A lot of them this time are pitting. Iron Mouse is one of them. There's Gura. Gura gonna get out way ahead of Iron Mouse here. Hey, Fluffy. Thank you for the headpets, by the way. Let's see what happens this time. I believe the top two pitted this time. Had to have. Yes, they did. All right. So let's keep an eye out on these two, because this is the top two. The only one that hasn't pitted is DM at the moment. DM's the only one that has not pitted at the moment, but everybody else has. There goes Lumen. See where Noriboshi comes out at. Ahead of Merryweather? No, just barely. Just barely ahead of Merryweather. Now the question is where does Gura come out at? Because there she is and the rest of the pack behind. Gonna come out just ahead. Actually, Noriboshi's gonna lose out a lot of track position here. As well as Iron Mouse. She falls way back. But now that should theoretically put Gura back to the race lead. Right after they pass DM, who's now in the pits. Just coming out of the pits. I think Gura right now would be second. Correct. So right now, this is the top three at the moment. Gura, Kobo, and Hanomizuki. And Merryweather and Fillion would round out the top five. And through the rest of the field on back. Goes all the way back to William and Lumen, the 36th and 37th drivers respectfully. And that officially puts Gura back to the race lead here on lap 70. Much more of a gap this time. And now, talking about that, Iron Mouse has fallen back to 9th after dominating not only the majority of that last run, but the majority of the race in general. Starlight's currently in 20th. And I saw Bell not too far ahead of them as well. Currently sitting just inside the top 15. think it's about... Oh, Starlight's back in the pits. The points leader has entered the pits again. I don't think that's a scheduled stop. Oh, it's definitely looking like it. I don't know. Well, another stop by the 24. That won't put him in a good spot at the moment. We'll see how things shake up here. They will go one lap down. But if there is a caution that comes out at any given point in time, they'll be back on the lead lap unless William or Lumen, two drivers ahead of them, ahead of her, I should say, if they also go a lap down, that will not happen. Actually, now that I say that, I don't think she went a lap down. No, I don't think Starlight went a lap down at all. She came out just ahead. I was pretty certain that was going to be a situation where she would have gone a lap down, but that is not the case. We're pretty much looking at single file through pretty much all of the field here. A lot of spread out racing at the moment, which is rare for this series. But not a bad change of pace for once. So with just over 100 laps to go in this race, it's Gura out front, Mizuki in second, third is Kobo, and then the rest is kind of up for grabs here. Iron Mouse, Merryweather, Fillion. Iron Mouse actually climbing up several spots. Iron Mouse has now climbed inside the top 5 now. With that pass on Fillion. Merryweather's in 4th. 6th place is Fillion. 7th is Bimble. 8th is Tyroki. 9th is Fruit. 10th is Lucky. And then outside the top 10, you got Henya and Callie battling each other. Dreamer in 13th. Bell in 14th. A solid position for them at the moment. And that is what they're going to need at this point in time, considering Starlight sits 37th at the moment. But again, still way too early in this race for Code Red. And even then, it's not even Code Red because Starlight has a full race lead over the point, over second place in the points, so at worst, it drops down to half a race. Because they had like 70 points exactly, if I remember correctly. 70 or 50, I don't remember exactly. At this moment, Hana Mizuki may have a shot for the lead here. And Iron Mouse is starting to drive right back up to the front of the field here. Trying to make a pass underneath Merryweather for 4th. Actually got to carry the momentum to a 3rd place battle. And immediately clear off a Kobo going into 1. So yeah, Iron Mouse, who I thought was just going to be mired in traffic after that pit stop, she is back. Climbed all the way up from 9th place to 3rd. And as a solid contender for this race lead here within the next couple of laps. Ooh, big slide to the inside. Can they get underneath Mizuki? They cannot. But now they'll try it down this front stretch here. Side by side going into 1. And now just like that, it's back to Gura and an Iron Mouse battling inside the top 2 for the lead. Did not take... I am shocked that it took as long as it did. I thought Iron Mouse would have slowly climbed up, but no, like, blink and you miss it. Kind of comeback here. Here comes Iron Mouse back to the lead. And she ain't going to be able to make it happen now. Going back to Aria's little strategy call there, if there is strategy, and I'm not saying it is, but what they may be calling for is a longer run than everybody else. Now, in this race, I've seen a lot better strategy with short pitting than going for the long game. But what I maybe what I'm thinking, if I am thinking what the 24's crew chief is thinking, they might be thinking that something similar to the first accident's going to happen during pit stops, where it just caught it right at the end of the pit stop sequence. But if they go long and the caution comes out, then not only could they trap several cars a lap down, but they could also have the fresher tires after the pit stops and will use the double file restarts to their advantage again, like they did at Charlotte. I'm not saying it's a solid stop for a race win, but I'm saying for trying to just keep a good position for points compared to the 69 of Bell, that might be the strategy call for this. I don't know if the 24 is thinking of race wins anymore, but rather just trying to think of just trying to get the finishing spots in order for them to finish better than Bell and hang on to that championship lead heading into the final handful of races. And big picture, that's just summing it all up, just thinking big picture by the 24. But it's going to have to work in order for it to work. I can't say it's a good call, especially in this kind of a race. But in terms of the bigger picture, if it goes well, and that could be the championship call right there. Three wide for third, but this battle for the lead is still kind of heating up. Also, thank you, JTA, for the subscribe on YouTube. Nose to tail for the first place here, but third place starting to fall back a little bit. Top 8 are now in this pack, and then it's a 3.5 second gap, if not 4.5. To get to 9th and 10th place. The ones that are definitely be wanting to take full advantage of this, though, are several drivers that are inside this top 8 pack here. Iron Mouse and Merriweather. Oh, crap. I'm going to pull this up for myself here so I have this as reference. Now, as it sits right now, Iron Mouse and Merriweather are right next to each other in the points. Not exactly next to each other necessarily, but they're only separated by only 7 points. Which is about 7 positions. And a few bonus points here or there. They're still 80 to 90 points back from the championship leader. But if this stays the way that it is going between everybody up front right now and the points leader, you are looking at several more contenders for the championship instead of just 2 drivers. That's why I'm a little questionable with this call by the 24 Starlights, as not only are they currently sitting 36th in the middle of a pretty long run, but they've been pulling off some crazy stunts the last several weeks. Not all by their own accord. They tried something different at Homestead, and they were the only car to get knocked out of the race by a mechanical failure. one of which is rare to have for this series, by the way. And not only that, but the last several races, for a points leader, you would think they would be morally up front throughout the course of a race, but they only show up in the second half of the race, which it's not really a diss or on anything, but it's more so the consistency is really lacking, especially at a race like Charlotte last week, where they have pulled the same kind of situation and it worked in a way. They finished outside the top 10, but they finished better than Bell and got a couple extra points in the point standings for that. But it's all going to come down to whether or not that continues, because if it does, it won't be Bell they're going to have to worry about. They're going to have to shift their focus to maybe William, maybe DJ, David, or Merriweather or Iron Mouse. Because they're not too far behind. They are a couple, I'd say almost 2 full races back once you get down to Iron Mouse. But all it's going to take is for some terrible strategy call by the 24 to completely knock them out of what should be a lock for the championship. Again, that's just how things run at the moment points-wise, and that's just my theory. If Starlight can just get a couple more top 10s in the book, then pretty much lock up that championship by that 24 team. They just have to hope that they start getting that consistency throughout the course of a race and let it be more apparent. Not only that, but I should also mention this too. They started this race in the second row, 4th place, and then not even a chance at the front of the field. They've been in the back all race long, and it has just been a misfire on the 24 team today. At least at this moment, we are still got a ways away from the end of this race and several more pit stops. So at this moment, that's how it looks like, but that may change as this race goes on. Right now, as of this moment, things are starting to string out a little bit more and get a little less chaotic up front, which is, again, nice change of pace for a series that has been mostly dominated by triple-digit lead changes throughout the course of a race. But it's a dominant performance by Iron Mouse in this first half of the race. If they have not locked up the most laps led bonus as of this moment, I'd give it another 5 laps before then, because Iron Mouse certainly has gotten this first half locked up. If you lead pretty much half a race, which is what Iron Mouse has done with the exception of a handful of laps by Gura and Merriweather and a couple others that have stayed out under the green flag pit cycle, which I assume at total would be around like 5 to 10. It's all Iron Mouse has to lead before she ends up locking up that most laps led bonus. And even then, she could still get it if a ton of other drivers just kind of pass the torch around for the second half of this race, which is also possible. But we should be seeing pit stops here within 10 laps or so. So if Iron Mouse leads all the way to that point, then that'll be a bonus point there for Iron Mouse in her quest for the championship. It's been a strong start so far in this race for Iron Mouse, looking for not only a strong run here today for the championship, but also the only driver to get that triple crown, if you will, having 3 race wins on the season. 90 laps into this race, almost an hour and a half into this race. This race and last week's race are in contention for the longest races of the season. At least if it continues like the way that it is. Unless they suddenly magically gain traction or horsepower to bring the lap times down to less than 40 seconds per lap, which would make this race go by a lot quicker than you think. But what was a pack of 8 cars has strung out to 4 cars. Tyroki's in this picture as well. But everybody inside the top 4, mostly single file. Everybody in the top 8, mostly single file. These drivers at the moment, they're just trying to get to that point in the race where they can start being aggressive. And that is not the time. So that's why you're seeing a little bit less of the aggressiveness that we've seen in the last 21 races of the season. Tyroki's going to look to the inside here to maybe... Because Tyroki hasn't led a lap yet. They're looking to get a lap lead bonus here as well. That is worth a bonus point. And Tyroki is not in the picture here for the title, the championship title, but still anything would be nice at the very least. Now, like I said, at the end of this race, there is something that I would like to update on, or at least give as an update as we head into the next 2 races, which would be Chicagoland and Watkins Glen. It does have something to do with the points championship, but nothing dramatic, too dramatic. Several drivers have already started the pit cycle. Melanie and Overdrive trying to become the drivers that short pit their way to better track position. Although Melody has been having themselves a horrible day after the first cycle. Getting involved in that wreck with Bao and Kason and a few others, but mostly those 2 that also ended up getting the major brunt of the damage. Couple drivers, I think only Henya actually came in that time. Nobody inside the top 10. Maybe a handful from the very back. So several drivers starting the short pit sequence. Several drivers starting that short pitting sequence where, because of the extra grip and the little extra speed that you'll get on those tires, especially if the leaders stay out longer. There goes Tyroki. He'll be down. He's the only one out of the top 5 to dive in. But if you get about 3 or 4 laps on the tires, compared to the leaders who will just run slower compared to you, that is quite a huge jump. Several drivers coming out of the pits. I saw Kyoso and Soleil. They're coming out of the pits. Yep, there they are in the bottom. See if anybody inside the top 3 comes in this time. Maybe Iron Mouse? Looks like it. They're lower in the turn 2. Yeah, it's Iron Mouse. Gura and Merriweather stay out. Williams going in. Remember, William is going to go a lap down now because of that. He was on the verge of going a lap down. Now he is officially a lap down. Let's see who else has entered the pits. Bimbo, Hanamizuki, Fruit, and a lot of other drivers as well. Mainly from the back. That's PK Gura, because they and Merriweather stayed out this time by. And they'll come in. I think I saw the 24 also enter in the pits as well, so not the best strategy call from what I'm seeing on the 24 team. There they are. Once again in the pits, but they are not coming in ahead of anybody. They're on the verge of going a lap down, unless they could get a solid stop here. Keep an eye on both Gura and Merriweather, as they were the top two coming into the pits here. We'll have to compare them to Iron Mouse when she gets out. Gura comes out ahead of Merriweather, but the question is what about Iron Mouse? Here goes William. Iron Mouse is just on that high side and just passes by. Once again, Iron Mouse hanging on to control of the lead at the moment. Again, the only other driver that did not pit. Actually, I think DM did pit, but they crossed the line ahead. Starlight might not actually be a lap down. Well, she's about to. Okay, DM did pit. Actually, Tyroki seems to be the race lead. Oh, no. Yeah, there. Yeah, Tyroki. I forgot all about Tyroki being inside the top 4 during that run. So, yeah, Tyroki is the race leader and not Iron Mouse. And he just put William 1 lap down. As well as the points, as well as Area, the points leader. So, 2 drivers are now down at least a lap, or at least 2. Actually, 3. Lumen's also 1 lap down as well. And now on the tail end. Also, Noriboshi sits 34th. So, another driver that was actually doing pretty good in the early stages of this race. They have fallen. Not sure if it's due to the strategy or due to something that went wrong during the race at some point, but again, they also sit just on the edge of being a lap down. William is actually going to fight to get back that lap back, which is kind of smart. And not only William, but also Tyroki. Tyroki let him go that time. Because Tyroki doesn't want to fight William that hard, because William's not gonna benefit from anything if he gets passed or not. The only person that would benefit this from the most if William stays out ahead of Tyroki would be Starlight. They would be the one to get the lucky dog and be back on the lead lap on the next restart. But again, we surprisingly ran pretty clean after the first incident. I say that because I had a feeling we were going to see more than just our fair share of cautions during green flag cycles. The way that first caution ended up happening. Yeah, right now it's Tyroki that has a 2-second gap all by himself. Oops, go back. This is a battle for second. And there is actually a strong... Look at this. Doki Bird inside the top 5 for the first time today. And they were one of the ones that short pitted, as well as Henya. Like I said, when you short pit, you gain a solid handful of seconds over the opposition, which As the run continues to get longer, it doesn't help as much. But when we get at least 2 green flag runs in, you gain more than just a couple positions. Callie was one of them as well that also pitted, as well as Melody, and they climbed a little bit. Just outside the top 10. That's where both of them sit at the moment. And now keeping an eye on the battle for second. Not the battle for the lead, the battle for second between Bibble in the 9 and Iron Mouse in the 22. And just behind them is the points leader, although they sit 1 lap down in 37th. In fact, I think the only car, correct, only car 1 lap down. Probably the most spread out race we have, I think, ever seen in this season. We've had groups of cars and packs of cars spread themselves thin and wide, but never just a singular car by themselves for an extended period of time. With less than, I should say, 71 laps to go, we only got 2 more pit stops left in this race. With 2 more pit stops in this event, it's going to be tough. Unless a caution comes out, it's going to be tough for anybody to dethrone the 41 unless they short pit. And right now, they let out enough of a gap ahead of, or I should say behind William, that they don't have to worry about William. And that is a smart move, to say the least. They have still 2.5 seconds over second place. So not only do they have a fair gap between them and William, the next car that would go a lap down, but they also have a solid gap as a race leader, so they can just ride around. They're literally riding around. They don't have to push, they don't have to stretch, they don't have to do anything crazy. They just ride around and get these laps down to less than 70, to less than 60, get to the next cycle of stops, and then survive that. And then survive the next run, and it's like, the only problems that would face the 41 would be a caution. Though, like I said, that makes it sound like we've had a history of no cautions. We have had a race where there wasn't a caution, but that was a road course, and road courses don't typically yield that many strict full course yellows. The gap is maintained at 2.5 seconds. Right now, this is as close as the battle as you're going to get inside the top 5. Between Bibble in the 9 and Iron Mouse in the 22. Not too far behind, though, is Merriweather sitting 4th, and then there's Mizuki in 5th. There is still some tight battles going on the track, but they'd be back for the 20s, if not the 30s. And it get really spaced out when you get back behind the 30s. Which I guess is not too surprising whatsoever. Still 2.5 seconds between the top 2, so we'll keep our eyes mostly peeled on these 3 that are battling for the second spot at the moment. Merriweather slides underneath Iron Mouse. Merriweather takes away the third spot. Yeah, what Starlight really wants to see is a caution. They're the only car one lap down. And the way that Tyroki's been running, it's pretty much clear that Tyroki doesn't want to put anybody else one lap down. Got a battle for second. Merriweather and Bimble nearly dooring each other going into two there. So goes Merriweather up to the second spot, and if there's anybody that could probably chase down the race leader, it could be Merriweather. Iron Mouse struggled to chase down the race leader, but Merriweather's had a strong car all race long. Started on the pole last week at Charlotte, won last week at Charlotte, started second today here at EuroSpeedway, and he's looking pretty good at the moment, hanging inside the top 5 pretty much all race long. And led the first half on the and led till the first green flag cycle, pretty much. Then Iron Mouse took over for the rest of the race. Up until this point in time, at least. It's down to less than 2.5 seconds. Merriweather's been strong compared to comparing the lap times. Let's see what happens this time around with Tyroki's lap time compared to Merriweather's. 47.307, 47.019. So about 0.3 quicker for Merriweather. That drops the gap to 1.89. See what happens on this lap here. See if Merriweather can drop it down to even less of a gap. Tyroki could just be saving his stuff up for later in this run, but he better not be trying to save up too much to where Merriweather gets up to him and makes life hell for him. 47.299, 46, still about 0.2 quicker. A little less than that. Gap drops to 1.68. So Merriweather is catching. It's actually helping Bimble out in the process too, lowering that gap. With how wide this track is, you definitely have enough space to put the pedal to the ground and try to throw it into a corner and be aggressive. And you're all by yourself. You got enough space to make it work. Enough grip on the high line to help stabilize you. A solid lap there. 47.117. Slightly off from the last lap. But now I think Tyroki's realizing he's got to start he's got to start going here. And I think he realizes that he's going to have to start racing William. William's probably going to be used as a pawn in order to defend. So, right now, with two drivers that are battling for the championship, they are about to be one lap down. Two drivers inside the top 3 in the points are about to go one lap down. That's how crazy this series is. For better or for worse. Lap 113 in the books. Tyroki sets a 224. Merriweather with a 103. And the lower number is the better number there. But it's still a 1.5 seconds between the top 2. But it's coming down slightly. But pit stops again loom in the distance. Could be their second to last pit stop of the race. They make it to lap 140, 145. They'll make it the rest of the way. Right now, Tyroki's going to try and see if they can catch up to William. And maybe put a car between them and Merriweather to slightly be better with defensing and being defensive there. 46.7 and a 46.5. They're starting to up their antes here. It was 47 seconds. Now it's dropped to 46. Top two maybe have been using up their stuff for a little bit, but now they're really starting to put the power down in these cars. It'll be 60 laps to go when they cross the line. Should also mention another driver that was stuck inside the top three in the early half of this race. That'd be Gura. Still sitting 10th place inside the top 10, but after that last stop, they fell back quite dramatically. Is it this time? 47.3. Ooh, big drop off there, as well as Merriweather. Yeah, one solid lap, and now it's back down to the 47s. Wondering if they burned something up there. They did something there, something different, to say the least. But the gap is about a second. Merriweather is right there. As soon as Merriweather catches Tyroki, it's going to be pit stop time. Close show. Oh, we're doing better. And this lap is a 7.47 and a 4.94, so more than just a 0.2 of a second gain that time by. Tyroki's started to slow up a little bit more than a little bit more last couple of laps. It was a gap of almost 3 seconds that's dropped to less than 0.8. And Merriweather's closing even more. And he's had a fast car all race long, so this is not surprising whatsoever. Especially in the late portions of a green flag run, where we've normally seen Merriweather right inside the top 5, if not second place. 47.830. This pretty much solidifies Merriweather's chances of getting back into the race lead. A 4.72 for Merriweather compared to an 8.30. It's game on now for Tyroki. Couldn't catch William in time, and now he's going to have to fight Merriweather. Or he's going to have to go into the pits and maybe short pit here. Nose is still running, cough still kind of hurts. Damn. It sucks to hear. Nose to tail for the race lead. Merriweather looking inside. It's going to look to the inside down the front stretch. Faster that time by. Still going to hang on side by side into one. Either Tyroki's been saving up until this very moment, or Tyroki's burned all this stuff up in this very moment. New race leader, it's Merriweather, but don't say it now, because here comes Tyroki to immediately take it back. Can he clear up out of 2? It's going to be tight, and yeah, oh wow, yes he does, wow. Barely. Tyroki hangs on. But how much? Well, kind of had a good run there down the front. Merriweather took the race lead away, but not officially at the same time. Still close to nose to tail, going into 2 here. Really nose to tail. Probably the closest I've seen in terms of a battle. And looking inside into 3 here. Keep in mind, these two have pulled away from 3rd place. They left that 3rd place battle in the dust. Merriweather still can't get the pass done. for it here on the exit of 2, or exit of 1. Whoa, crossover move by Tairoki. Again, Merriweather takes it away in 1, but here comes Tairoki to take it back in 2. He's not going to be able to do it. Oh, that was close. That was real close. Now he clears off 3. Well, watch Merriweather with a crossover of his own. No, he's going to stay. He's going to stay single file. He's going to stay right tucked up behind. Ooh, what a run. Inside, can't get it going. Tries to push him up the track. Ooh. Looks like they're both going to try and pit. Contact between the two. The top 2 are wanting to pit together. A little bit of miscommunication there. Oh, the caution is out. The caution has come out. It's actually as soon as they got into the pits, too. Which I think might be illegal. Because I think technically the pits are closed during this time. Well, the caution has come out as soon as the pit stops are starting. Oh boy, accident. Oh no. Turn 2. Soleil and Gura. Soleil slides way up the racetrack, and Gura cannot give her enough room whatsoever. Right in front of everybody else that's wanting to come into the pits. Wow. As soon as the green flag cycle starts, that's going to change legitimately everything. Like, that cannot be understated as to how insanely crazy things are about to become here in this race. Like, several drivers have just entered the pits. Several drivers were in the pits. And I think a lot of those drivers that entered the pits, they entered a closed pit unintentionally, which means that they're going to be in the back of the line. This changes everything. Just found root beer soda. I am unironically drinking some right now. That doesn't help my voice, but whatever. So now we got everybody that hasn't came into the pits. They are all coming in at this very moment. This is going to take a minute to sort out because this happened as the caution has came out as soon as the pit stop cycle was starting. Or peak pit stop cycle was starting. I have no idea how this is going to cycle out. Like, I genuinely don't. When I go through the field, I'm going to be like just as... Like, I'm going to get that information on everybody in their position as soon as you do. I still don't understand what the heck is wrong with this camera. It's weird. So right now, Tairoki's out front ahead of Doki Bird and Merriweather. Iron Mouse in 4th and Kobo in 5th, but I don't actually know if they're going to stay this way or not, because most of them entered a closed pit, which I would have assumed would have been an end of the longest line. Unless it wasn't closed? Unless it wasn't closed. But I'm pretty certain it was. Because normally when the caution comes out, they want to close pit lane, but unless it was not closed, which that could also be a possibility. Hiroki still scored as the leader. Callie in 6th. So we went through the top 5 already. Fruit in 7th. Henya in 8th. Kyoso in 9th. Melody in 10th. Overdrive 11th. Risu in 12th. Bimble in 13th. 14th is Mizuki. 15th is Donna. Dreamer in 16th. Billy in 17th. Sprite in 18th. DM 19th. Lucky in 20th, Simu 21st, Bell 22nd, Fu 23rd, 24th is Gura after the wreck, 25th is David, 26th is Soleil after the wreck, 27th is Weebu, Lumen 28th, 29th is Didi, Watson 30th, Lumi 31st, Bao 32nd, Fifi 33rd, Noriboshi, Keisan, William, and Starlight round out the field as I think William got the lucky... I don't know if anybody got the lucky dog or not. I wasn't paying attention to that. I wasn't paying attention to that part of the race. But a surprising contender out of all of this, it's Doki Bird who's going to actually be on the outside line, leading them to the green flag. Well, leading the outside line to the green flag. With 50 laps to go, there's still going to be one more pit stop between now and then. Go ahead and get this angle going up here. Alright, so ignore all I said about the changes everything deal because Tairoki still leads them out front. Actually clears going into 1 here. So it looks like all those drivers that came into the pits as the caution came out, looks like they were fine to come in because they were committed to the pits. Which I was also hoping was the case because that would have screwed over so many drivers. Doki Bird's actually going to try and take the race lead away for the first time today. Starlight's still considered a 1 lap down, so it looks like somebody must have gotten the lucky dog. So side by side for that spot for the lead. They're still side by side for the race lead. All this does is really bunch everybody up. As here comes Iron Mal. So she thought about it. She thought about it. Thought about that 3 wide move. Didn't necessarily work out. Here goes Callie back into the picture here. Saw her struggling a little bit in the early parts of the race. They're 4 wide going into turn 1 here. Oh boy. Almost 5 wide. Almost dooring each other. They stay completely fine. Meanwhile, Doki Bird takes the race lead away. Please ignore the name. I can't change it. A little bit of the inside, going for 3rd place. Really Doki Bird's first lap led of the race, I do believe. That rookie gonna try really hard, though, to get back that race lead. Now, with Donkey Bird leading, that is actually helping Iron Mouse here. It's up capacity, keeping that most laps led bonus in her favor. As long as Donkey Bird doesn't lead too many laps, which I don't think is still possible, considering Iron Mouse has led a lot of laps today. Still sitting relatively close inside the top 5. A surprising late race contender out of all this stuff going on today in the last 2 hours of racing. It's Donkey Bird who actually hangs on to the race lead. And once we get another 15 laps into this run, if anybody pits, they'll make it the rest of the way. Obviously, they got to make it that far first, but if they do, then if anybody pits, they will be on their run to the finish. Tyroki thought about going to the inside for the race lead. And thinks twice. Tyroki content for the moment, unless they're just not able to get the run. It's also possible too. While Starlight stays 1 lap down, the only car 1 lap down, actually hoping for another caution. Bell currently sits just outside the top 15 in 16th spot at the moment. Pulling away down the backstretch here. Nothing going on behind. Good run by Tyroki down this front stretch here. Can I get a run down the back? No. Bird hangs on. Tyroki's going to try the inside in turn 3. Broken Bird's going to hang on. Well, maybe not for long. Tyroki actually made the pass happen. Another lap led there. Can he complete the pass? That's the main question. Tied off a 2. Donkey Bird with a better run, though. Or tied off a 1, I should say, down the back. Donkey Bird's going to get a good run off the high side there. That contact between Merriweather and Tyroki, we almost saw something similar to the Charlotte race. We've seen it a lot this season with the top 2 taking each other out late in the race. It's happened more times than I would like to admit. We've now officially surpassed the 2-hour mark of racing. If I consider playing a horror game, the only game I'd consider playing is Phasmophobia. Any other game? No. I'm not a horror guy. Not my cup of tea. Still stay side by side for the lead. Maybe who gets the run off 3? Oh, I think it might be Dogenbird who gets the run off 3 here. Turn 1. Still side by side. On the back though, Tyroki clears. That was a good run by Tyroki there. Yeah, too scary. I don't like jump scares. Now Tyroki back to the race lead and clears. Oh, good lord, Dokibird a little too hard into 3 there. She might get a run down the front stretch. Take it back to the inside. Run. That was a good run by Dokibird, but can she clear off a 1? No. Well, that's about 3rd. Tyroki hangs on. Dokibird back to the inside in turn 3. Still not able to make it stick there. Oh, got a good run down the front stretch. Shoves up Tyroki up the racetrack, which will help her clear the 41 and back to the point. Tyroki again looking back to the inside for a crossover move down into 2. That is a really solid run. Won't be easy to capitalize off 2. It's going to have to be in 3. Tries to squeeze the high line there. Gets as much momentum as he can to get off of 3 and does. And once again, Tyroki clears off of 3. A solid race for the lead though after this restart, all things considered. 2 drivers I didn't expect to see battle for the lead, but here they are. Dokibird looking down the backstretch here. Can they get a run into 2? That inside line is hard to make work in turn 2. And even Dokibird still can't completely get it. Ah, she does. Barely. Dokibird back to the point. See if Tyroki can mount another move here. Looks like a little bit of a gap gain there between the top 2. Tyroki way up the racetrack in 3 though. He's trying to get a slightly better run into 1 here, but I don't think it's gonna. It's close. Slides up off 1. I almost want to say 2. I don't know why. Slides up off 1 down the backstretch. Can he get a run? He's going to try it. It's going to be tough, but he's going to try it. Into 2. Dokibird a little bit of a pinch there off 2 there. Tyroki gonna stay to the inside, though. Gonna hang on. Off the 3. It's a good run. Crosses the line with the lead. And barely, maybe clear going into 1. Crossover by Doki Bird. To the inside. Doki Bird's pretty strong in turn 2 here. Can she once again clear on the inside? It'll be close. Just not enough, but now has the advantage. Tyroki back to the inside, though. Not gonna last too much longer on that high line. The window to make it to the checkered flag is wide open for anybody now. As Doki Bird gets a better run down the backstretch here. Nearly getting into it. Turn 2. A little bit of smoke. 3 and 3 there. No caution. Tyroki across the line. Oh, Wreck It in 1. It sounds like the Wreck It in 1. Merryweather's in the wall. He spun around. Caution out. It is out. Merryweather gets turned going into 1. I think that might have been with... I gotta look back. We'll look back at that here in a second. Looks like it will be... Well, I was gonna say it might be Tyroki across the line first, but it might actually be Doki Bird unless they... Whew. Tyroki slots down low. It will be Tyroki across the line for the caution, but let's quickly go back to Merryweather. Oh, it was with Callie. Yeah, it was with Callie. Merryweather tries to clear up high. Yeah, just not enough space. Not enough space for Merryweather. One of the dominant cars of the day. So now the top 5 is all in shambles compared to 100 laps ago. And this is the this will be the money stop here. I would be surprised if nobody comes into this, if nobody comes in. I had to pit one more time to make it to the rest of the way. This is that stop. With under 30 laps to go with the caution out. Assuming that this is the final caution of the race. This will be the most important caution of the race. Let's keep an eye on the pit stops here. The points leader of Starlight's going to get the lucky dog. That's what they've been looking for all along. So now with less than 30 laps to go, and the final pit stop for them, at least at the moment, we'll have to see where they end up finishing at. They haven't been strong all day, so who knows if they'll be able to crawl back up front. Tyroki's going to come out front. Top 2 going to stay the same. Mostly everybody inside the top 5 is going to stay the same. kind of jam up going on in the middle there. So we'll go through the field here when they cross the line, because they'll be accurately scored at that point. It'll be much easier for me to read. Not entirely too sure what the tire marks are in almost turn 3, but no caution. I'm pretty certain it wasn't that big. Although I may be able to find the culprit and the victim pretty shortly soon. So if we get one to go here, it'll be 148 when we go back racing. Tyroki out front, ahead of Doggy Bird in second, Kelso in third, Kobo in fourth, Dreamer in fifth, Fruit in sixth, Callie in seventh, Risu in eighth, Iron Mouse in ninth, and Bell rounding out the top 10. Lucky in 11th, Sprite in 12th, 13th is Filiad, 14th is Lumen, Henya in 15th, DM in 16th, Bibble in 17th, Melody in 18th, Mizuki in 19th, Fu in 20th, Nana 21st, Weebu 22nd, Soleil 23rd, 24th is David, 25th is Bao, 26th is Simu, 28th is Gura, 29th is Kason, 30th is... Yeah, we'll just call what position they are right now. 31st is Noriboshi, 32nd is Didi, 33rd Meriwether, 34th Fifi, 35th Lumi, 36th DJ Overdrive. Watson's coming out of the pits, and so is Starlight. Although Starlight better hurry because they're in turn 3. And that's how the field rounds out here. Pace car dives in. This may be the final restart of the race. Or maybe not. But in terms of pit stops, that was their final pit stop. They'll make it to the end from here. Green flag back in the air. Tyroki with a commanding jump ahead of Doggy Bird, going into turn 1, side by side for the third spot between Kyoso and Kobo. Dreamer just inching out ahead of Fruit in that battle, putting them currently 5th. Still side by side for that third spot. Now Kobo clears from the high line. Starts stacking up behind, trying to gain some positions. Final leg of this race here. It's all coming down to whoever can get into a position to win this race. But it will be a late run to the finish if this does go green all the way. So who has the best long run car is going to be the one that's going to win this race. That will be that'll be a thing that I'll like to see, because we've seen a lot of drivers come from the back to the front deep in the run. So how good their long run speed can be. The top 4 are double file. 3 rows of double file now when you include Dreamer and Callie's battle for that 5th spot. Tyroki hangs on that high line to keep Doggy Bird in 2nd. Bell creeping up. Restarted 10th. It's now up to 7th. Callie also gaining a couple spots on that restart too. Also about to lose a couple right there. Wow, almost getting dumped by the 69. I mean, it looked like it from the angle that we were seeing. It might have been a little closer, but still, that was tight. Regardless of the camera angle. Tairoki hanging on the race lead, but here comes Dokibird to the inside. Kobo way up the racetrack, trying to find groove on the high line, which hasn't really worked all day, but might be able to give them a run down the backstretch. Dokibird with a decent run down the back will clear and will take the race lead back. Three wide, maybe between Bell, Callie, and Dreamer for fifth. Tairoki once again dives low, looking for that lead. As Bell started to aggressively climb back into the top five. I say back, that's the first time in the top five. Tairoki keeping it down low to that inside. Clear off of one down the backstretch. Double with Dokibird to their high side. And clear going into two. Kobo has a win already this season. They're looking for their second. He also has 2 wins. They're looking for their third. Callie, 3 wide for third. Sticking with the battle for the race lead. Getting close to that 20 to go mark here in this race. Tairoki slips up just a little bit more than Kobo. Opening that door down the inside, but Tairoki with that momentum down the back. In turn 2, though, Kobo's going to try and hang on to that inside line, but Tairoki's been strong on that high line. I mean, the whole race, that whole high line's been strong. The exception of a few incidents. Kobo hangs on to that inside. Turn 3, down the front. Still side by side, but it won't be Kobo who leads that lap. Don't look now, but here comes Kyoso. They may make it 3 wide. Not now, but watch from turn 2. Kobo doesn't get clear of Tairoki here. And does so. Bell going to take Kyoso and Tairoki 3 wide for a second. Tairoki has a good run down the backstretch on that high line. At the very least, they'll stay side by side for that second spot. Going to get that run off that high line, though. At the very least, he keeps it. Wow, very tight. Keeps it very tight. Stay single file. There's Tairoki once again back to that inside. It'll be under 20 to go when we cross the line. Side by side for the race lead. And the turn 2. Vtuber way up the racetrack. Early in the wall. Callie may make it 3 wide for the lead down the front stretch. Now blinks twice. Unless they didn't have a run. They're still peaking down low, so they just didn't have the power for it. Kobo's still trying to hang on that high line. All things considered, that is quite the battle. Almost 4 wide here between a ton of the drivers inside the top 5. Kobo will get the run down the front backstretch, I should say. It's going to be Tairoki who edges out ahead of everybody behind. Sprite and DM in the picture as well. Bell 5. Whoa! A little bit of an accordion effect right there, literally, and that almost sent shockwaves throughout the rest of the field. Tairoki hangs out by himself. Callie maybe in second. Kyoso second. Sprite 3 wide for third with Callie and Kobo. And DM trying to find a lane, but Sprite covers it up. As Bell falls way back to the back of this pack of cars here. It goes all the way back to, I believe, 10th or 11th. Just off the top of my head, looking at how many cars are there. Side by side again for the race lead. Koso, one of the drivers that's also looking to become a Triple Crown winner with 3 wins in the column there. Taking it here today. They still have a long ways to go. Everybody starts crossing over everybody here. Callie in 3rd, Sprite 4th, and Kobo in 5th. Melody hanging on inside the top 10. She got involved in the first wreck of the race, but due to the pit stop sequence that transponded when the caution came out, she's been put in a very good position. Although I guess we'll have to see how well that car is if it does end up leading the race. Tyroki's still hanging on. And head out now. Ain't no worries, show. Hope you get better soon. Callie to the inside for 2nd. He also slipped up a little bit. Now it's giving Tyroki some track position here. A little bit of clean air, if you will. Callie maybe to 2nd. And they clear off. They can. 3 wide behind. Single file inside the top 2. Dreamer hanging on to that 4th spot, but he's got a little bit of competition right underneath, or right above. Sprite's looking for a 2nd win of the season. Things are looking mighty bleak for the drivers back in 15th on back. 15 to go. Things are starting to string back down to single file. So that's going to open up the doors for some drivers to make some moves from 5th on back. And here comes Callie to the inside in turn 2. They have the power to make it stick. Stay side by side at the very least going into 3, but I think Callie had a stronger run throughout the course of those last 2 corners. Clears up. Now Callie leads here at EuroSpeedway. Here comes Tyroki back to that inside. Not too long of a run for that lead. Unless Callie can get a run down the backstretch here. Kelso's going to push. No, take it 3 wide. It might be go time for these drivers. 3 wide into 2 here. Tyroki may get the best out of it. I think Callie might have hit the wall. No, some people are hitting the wall, though. Ooh, that was close. Several drivers coming in the pits. A few drivers coming in the pits from what I saw. Yeah, several drivers coming into the pits. I was pretty more than certain they would have made it the rest of the way on fuel, but maybe some drivers can't. I mean, they were really close on fuel when they pitted. Some drivers can't go more than 30. But if that is the case, and this becomes a fuel mileage race, then who can make it then? Or was it just those drivers that couldn't make it and they decided now was the time to come in? I don't think anybody this time has come into the pits. From the looks of things, only about 1 driver. That being Overdrive. Starlight's also a little bit of ways back than the rest of the pack. Still Tairoki, Kyoso, and now Bell. They're going to be 3 wide for the lead. But now they're going to have traffic ahead of them, although I don't think it'll be major traffic, but it is something to look at here. They're still coming up to speed with their new... I guess, I don't know if they got new tires. If they didn't get new tires, that would be a dumb move to make, but Bell now trying to take advantage of what's been going on now. They're going to be 3 wide across the line. Bell's going to be the one to lead the lap, which will be their first of the day. Which is definitely not what Starlight wanted to see. Now Tairoki's going to be sent all the way to the top line, file back outside the top 5. And Bell's actually going to get a good run away from the rest of the pack. Now the question will be, does anybody have anything left? They got to chase them down and pass them. And Bell's also going to have to deal with some traffic ahead of them. And that's Kyoso. He hangs on to second. And Bell can catch what would be Fu. He's had a strong run with a win at Homestead not too long ago. And now just today sitting 37th at the moment. Right now, Bell's in the catbird seat right now. Definitely not what the points leader wanted to see today. 10 laps to go here at EuroSpeedway. Be about a second of a lead between top 2. And right now they're battling for that spot. So that may increase the gap between the leader and second place, especially if they go 3 wide. But right now, what Starlight needs to do is they need to push harder. They need more than just the people that did pit to also run out, because right now they're sitting in 31st. Unless it was just those 6 drivers that were short on gas. Gap dwindles back down to about a half a second. Kelsey's actually got to get a good run down the backstretch. Get into turn 2. Things have started to get a little bit spacey for the last couple of laps. Thanks to those 6 drivers going into the pits. And now Kyoso clears. Takes a race lead away, but watch out for Bell down to that inside, looking for a crossover. They're not going to get the run down the front stretch, but they're going to be able to make a move into 1. Or at least possibly going into 1. Kelso, Bell, Callie, Kobo, top 4, right on top of each other. Nana and Dreamer and many others behind, but about half a second back to that pack. Can Kelso become a 3-time winner here this season? Or can Bell finally get another win and edge closer to championship glory? Side by side down the front stretch. Kelso still hangs on. Not by much. Callie, ooh. Everybody's starting to file around each other. Or into different lanes. There's 6 laps to go across the line. Oof, really close between the top 2. What separates the top two in points is 3 points. You win the race, you not only get the 43 base points that comes with the points format, but you also get 3 for winning the race and 1 for leading a lap. So, technically, 4. But since Bell and Kyoso have led, and now Callie, it's still only 3. If the person in second place has also led a lap, that technically is only 3 extra points between... It separates, I should say. But... in most case scenarios, it is 4. But right at this moment, it's 3 points, and Bell is looking for those 3 points. 5 laps to go. Callie trying to take that second spot away from Bell, who now, or sorry, Kyoso. Callie slips up and loses a lot of momentum. Kobo's going to make a move to the inside, 3 wide. That might give the advantage to either Callie or Kyoso. And Bell's going to have to try and block that run coming into turn 3 here. And the Callie who clears, at least clears Kyoso and clears Kobo as well. So Callie hangs on to second. Lots can happen. We've seen a lot that can happen here in these final 10 laps, especially final 4 here. We're heading into a point of no return here. We got a caution. It will end early. Will end the race early, I should say. Down the back. Callie going side by side with Bell. Turn number 2, who gets the better runoff here? Can Callie hang on to that inside line, get the preferred line going into 3? Be close, but Callie's going to hang on to that inside line. Can they get a good run off of 3? They have a much better run this time. They'll stay side by side. Under 3 to go. Callie's going to hang on to that inside line. And just barely clear. A little bit of that wiggle. Little wiggle. That's going to help Bell unless Callie can block late. Callie's going to block. Now it's going to bring Kobo into the picture here. As they battle for second behind. Dreamer's also behind them as well. Hanging on to 4th. Callie has to block both lanes here going into turn 3 with coming to 2 to go. Bell with a better run on that high line. Bell make a crossover. Nope, they're going to clear. They're going to stay single file going into turn 1. Callie, Bell, and Kobo, the top 3. And when they come across the line, it will be the last lap. Side by side, down the back. And Bell get a good run going into turn 2. Throws it in deep. And try and hang on. At least hang on to the bottom line going into turn 3. Gonna pinch a little high. Come back low, try to clear coming off of 3 here. Last time around. White flag in the air. Dead heat to the line between Callie and Bell. Callie with a head of steam going into 1. But that inside line's been the preferred line all race long in most of the corners. And it's going to help Bell for the moment. Callie can get a good run down this backstretch here. They're going to stay side by side. Almost door to door. Almost contact. Into turn 2 for the final time. Can Bell clear? Second place in points, looking to make a big statement forward going into Chicagoland next week. Turn 3 for the final time. Still side by side. Had a photo finish last week at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Off of turn 3. It's going to happen again. But this time it's going to be Bell across the line. Ahead of Cali by 0.02 of a second. Another photo finish. Hell of a battle. Bell hung on all the way through to the finish. Their, I believe, second win of the season. Correct. Their second of the season. By 0.02 of a second. Absolutely insane stuff. Wow. We'll go through the full results here momentarily. What a finish. All right. Let us take a gander here at not only the points, but also the final results here. I got the music? Yes, I do. Cool. All right. Final results for today's race here at the EuroSpeedway. Everybody inside the top 10, with the exception of 2 drivers, started inside the top 10 in qualifying. But Bell ekes out a win over Cali by only 0.02 of a second. Kobo in third. Dreamers, a good run by them, will finish in fourth. Anana in fifth. Tyroki in sixth. Lucky in seventh. Sprite in eighth. Kyoso in ninth. And Bao rounds out the top 10. And Didi the pole sitter just follows them in 11th, as the rest of the field slowly will scroll by on the screen. Iron Mouse did lead the most amount of laps today with 53, so they'll get that bonus point, but they round out the day's race in 17th. Sorry. Yes, 17th. Sorry. David, 18th. Several drivers that were looking for some solid points days here today, not so lucky. David, Iron Mouse, like I said, 17th and, or 18th and 17th respectively. Soleil 21st, William 22nd. But I think the biggest picture of them all is we go back beyond the 20s and we still don't see the points leader coming out of today's race. Continues to file down here. Just inside the top 20, you see Weebu, who finishes 23rd. Anamizuki, who was up front, led a lap. They finished 24th. Gura, who was another strong contender early in the race, falls back and finishes 25th. Kason, who got involved in the first wreck of the day, couldn't really muster up anything outside of it and ended up finishing 26th. Merriweather, another dominant car per se, they'll finish 29th, but the biggest story of them all is our points leader. They're going to finish 31st here today. Way far back from where they should finish. And the only other driver inside the top 10, well, actually, a couple other drivers inside the top 10 in points that failed to finish, not only ahead of Starlight, but in the back of the 30s. Both DJ Overdrive and Noriboshi, 33rd, 34th. Rounding out the 37 car field for this race, Fu started in 14th. 3 cautions for the day out of 47 lead changes from 12 different drivers. Which leads us to these points coming out of today's race. From third place on back, not much changes. From second on up, though, we have a massive change up. With everybody inside the top 5 with 2 wins, it drives us back down to consistency inside the top 5. Right now, the top 2, they're the most consistent, but Bell showing the more consistent out of the 2. As the last couple of races, they've been getting closer and closer, and with this win here today, And with Starlight finishing 31st, the gap is now 23 points. And it's a big jump till you get to 3rd place, so it's still just the top 2. David takes 4th away from DJ Overdrive and actually gains 1 spot. Iron Mouse gains 4. A big jump there by Iron Mouse. That's just how much leading the most amount of laps helps you out, especially with how tight these points are. Now 5 drivers have 2 wins of the season. At least, well, 6 drivers inside the top 10 do. And they'll be looking for their 3rd. Top 10, they are all separated by 88 points. Now, here's the biggest news that I wanted to talk about here earlier. So, everybody inside the top 10 is separated by 88 points. Everybody from 11th on back is separated by 100 or more. As we scroll through these point standings, everybody from 11th on back, they're going to get 2 opportunities to make up a lot of these points. At Chicagoland, just before the race at Chicagoland, there will be a heat race, a mini heat race for the drivers that are 100 or more points back from the points leader. That they will try and muster down that big old points deficit to a closer margin for the run for the championship. I say 100 points or more because that still won't make a difference for the top 5 championship running wise. It'll make the top 10, the back half of the top 10, I should say, a bit more competitive, but still not anything major in terms of the championship hunt. Like I said, it's 100 points or more. That'll be for both races at Chicagoland and Watkins Glen. That's it. After that, it's the final 5 race to the stretch for the championship hunt. By then, we'll have maybe a sliver of some opportunities given to some drivers, but like I said, right now it's just Starlight and Bell hanging on to the top 2 for the points. That's how we round out things here this week. Next week again, Chicagoland. I'll go over the results of the heat race before getting into the race at Chicagoland. It will count towards official stats, but not at the same time to me. It'll count towards the points stats, obviously. Those are the next 2 races, Chicagoland and the Watkins Glen course. Like I said, those 2 next races will also have little heat races for everybody that is 100 points or more behind the championship leader. The one that's going to probably not have the most amount of luck out of all this is going to be Noriboshi, Kyoso, and Merriweather, as well as probably Soleil, because they're the ones that are probably going to drop a little bit. But, like I said, it'll shake things up a notch here for the championship hunt. It won't award that many points, to be honest, because there's not a lot of cars in the race, in that race anyway, so it won't reward full points necessarily. But it'll still be a big jump for a lot of these drivers, nonetheless. So, there's that. That out of the way, thank you all so much for tuning into this race here at the EuroSuperspeedway, or the EuroSpeedway, I should say. Next week is Chicagoland, and it will probably be more of a doozy next week than it is this week. More of that little pack racing that we've been accustomed to throughout the course of this series. That out of the way, though, that'll do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. I don't think I'll be back tomorrow, to be honest, because I got work in the afternoon tomorrow, and I'm going to be sleeping that morning. Not a good idea for me to stream tomorrow. I might stream Tuesday morning at the earliest. Not entirely too sure just quite yet. If it ain't Tuesday, it might be Wednesday, but I'm not too sure yet either way. Yeah, so much for watching. Take care. Have a good one.